Hello, this is John Brier, KG4AKV, and I'm here at Carolina Pines Park in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I'm here because 2 years ago, right here, I first received the International Space Station. And I remember it to this day. I got an email from Lucas Coleman, KK4FVC, announcing that the ISS was going to be coming overhead in about an hour or two, and I had not even received a satellite in a very long time, maybe a year or two. And I got my antenna, which had been stored in my parents' shed, and the foam holding the foam handle was completely disintegrated, and I had to get an adapter for my coaxial cable because I hadn't used this thing in so long, and the coaxial cable was brand new, and it had this little plastic zip tie around it, and I had to scrape it on the ground down here just to get it off because I didn't have a knife, I didn't have anything. I was so unprepared. But I got the antenna up, and it was actually, the ISS was already 14 degrees above the horizon, and I heard an Air Force member inside the International Space Station communicating with a school, and it was just incredibly exciting. And since then, I put a video up right after that of it that same day, and that video over 2 years has received 12,000 views. And it was because of those views continually progressing over the last year or two, I was encouraged to continue making videos and to make the Space Comms channel. And I just wanted to come out here and just kind of celebrate that. And I want to show you the video from the original time, and I've edited it, and I've added some software tracking information at the bottom. I add the questions, overlaid them, so it's a little bit better than the original video on my other channel. So I hope you enjoy the video. Thanks for watching. Again, this is John Brier, KG4AKV.
Charlie, this is November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra. I'm not hearing you at the moment, over.
That is the International Space Station.
And Kilo 4 Romeo Charlie, this is November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra. You are broken, and would you like to go to the backup channel of Charlie 6?
Oh no, I have no idea what that is. Oh no.
Kilo 4 Romeo Charlie, this is November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra on Charlie 6. How copy, over?
Oh, they're still there.
Kilo 4 Romeo Charlie, November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra on Charlie 11. How copy, over?
Here we go.
And why don't we go back to the first question, and I'll be ready to copy, over. Hi, Shot. Yes, this is Colonel Mike Hopkins on board the International Space Station, and I love being an astronaut. I love everything about it. I love the work. I love the people that I get to work with, and I love floating in space. Over. Nothing gets done up here without teamwork. In fact, the crew up here of 6 is a team, and then we've got hundreds and thousands of people on the ground that are extremely important to get the job done. They are our systems experts, and without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do up here. Over. Hey, Plato, that's a great question, and there's a lot of exciting experiments that are going on up here, from us being the guinea pigs to combustion chambers and fluid dynamics. But one of the ones that I think that's going to be very exciting is coming up soon on the Cygnus vehicle, and that's going to be ants. We're going to have an ant farm up here, and they're going to be studying the behavior of these ants in microgravity. And I think that's going to be very exciting. Over. Hi, Catherine. Future career plans. Well, I'm still in the Air Force, active duty in the Air Force, and I'm going to continue to stay in the Air Force for a little while longer. And then I'd love to fly again someday. So obviously there's a lot of work to do on the ground, a lot of people, a lot of astronauts that aren't flying that help us out up here. So I'm sure I'll be doing some of those jobs when I get back. Over. Hey, Zachary, I wouldn't say I really had a lot of challenges in terms of becoming an astronaut, because I was in the Air Force, I was testing airplanes, and I was doing something that I loved, and so there was nothing challenging about that. I guess if there was any challenge, it was just being patient and accepting the fact that becoming an astronaut may not happen, and in this case, I was very fortunate and it did, and I've been loving every part of it. Over. The most important skill is actually goes back to an early question, and that's the teamwork and being able to work with other people, because what we do up here that doesn't involve other people, and so we need to work well with them, and that's probably the most important skill. Over. Ash, well, that's an interesting question, because I don't get bored up here. It's very hard to get bored because there's always something to do. We are pretty busy up here, but at the same time, when we do get free time, there's the Earth to look at, or getting to float around. That's always fun, no matter what you're doing. Over. Giovanni, that's a great question. It's interesting. You'll go into a module to work, and you'll start working on a rack, and you'll get yourself in an orientation that makes it easy to work, and then you'll realize it's been great talking to you. I wish we had more time to talk, but good luck in school. Study hard. Over.
All right, you just listened to the International Space Station. If you couldn't tell, I'm gonna explain how this worked. Okay, so this is my antenna, and it's actually two antennas in a way. We've got three elements here, and that's the antenna that I used for listening to the International Space Station. It's made for what's called the 2-meter band, and the other elements are for a different band. It's called the 70-centimeter band. This antenna is made for contacting low Earth orbiting satellites, normally FM repeater satellites. So we didn't use these elements here, these shorter ones. We just used these longer elements. And this is the element that is connected to the coaxial cable that goes to the radio. and then this is the reflector. So these elements in the back are longer than the, I guess you call it the driven element normally, and then as you go up they get shorter. So this one is shorter than this one, and that one is shorter than this one, and it's a true. It's also the same if you look at the other antenna that's on this mast, or this boom rather. So that comes down this coaxial cable, that signal, and then comes into the radio, and you can see that we were on, let's see, turn it on. Might have just killed the battery or something. Anyway, we were on, there we go, 145.8. And what you'll notice earlier is when I had to adjust this up here, it was getting distorted, and that's because of Doppler shift. So as the satellite comes towards you, the Doppler causes you to have to be at a higher frequency, the Doppler effect. So I was at 805 in the beginning, and I noticed it got distorted, and I forgot about Doppler because I was so excited listening to this. And then I remembered what was going on, so I turned it back to which is the actual frequency they're transmitting on, the ISS. And then it became less distorted. If it had been a more overhead pass, which it wasn't, we would have probably had to go down one more increment on my radio as well, but we didn't. So the actual path, this is north, this direction. Yeah, that's north, and then that's west, and then this is east. So it came from kind of the west, I don't know, I guess you could say that west, northwest, and then it basically came, I think, like this. Well, that doesn't really work with the camera, but anyway, so you follow the this antenna is directional. That's what the point of the reflector, the driven element, and then the, I don't know what that's called, but it's directional. So the reflector in that way goes, it's your direction. I can't explain it any better than that right now because I just don't know. So anyway, that's that. We didn't hear the other side of the conversation, unfortunately, because that was a school that was talking to them in Virginia somewhere. I can't remember the details. I got an email about this about an hour ago, a couple hours ago. Somebody sent an email to the NCSU Ham Radio Club, W4ATC. The guy that actually sent the email is KK4FBC Coleman, something Coleman. I can't remember his first name, but I have to thank him for sending out that email because otherwise I wouldn't have known about this. And this antenna I've had since I first got into ham radio when I was like 16. I haven't used this antenna for anything since then, so it's really cool to get it out and to be able to use it for, you know, to have the first contact be the ISS, the International Space Station. And like I said, normally I use it to work FM repeaters, low Earth orbiting LEO satellite repeaters, and what they do is they have an uplink and a downlink on two different bands, and that's what this is the 70 centimeter band elements right here, the shorter ones. That's so that would be about 440, 470 megahertz, 70 centimeters, you know, frequency and wavelength are equivalent, and then this is for 2 meters, which is 140 megahertz, 146 megahertz, 144 through 146 is the actual band. So normally what I do with this antenna is there's a satellite, and I'll transmit on 2 meters, and then it'll retransmit simultaneously while it's going overhead, you know, and it can see half of the world, and it will retransmit to anybody else that's listening. So I can talk to people with this setup here in, you know, the northern parts of South America all the way up into Canada, all over North America. So that's what I've used this for in the past, but today, because it's a nice directional antenna that you can hold in your hand, it worked well to listen to the ISS. So I hope you enjoy that as much as I did, and have a nice day. Thanks. This is John, KG4AKV.